starting 11 in every game in the Champions League because there's a chance to rotate and give other players a rest and other players a chance?
Yes, well, it would depend on the availability of the squad, the form of the players. Now, unfortunately, we have a few players already out, so that is already limited in certain positions. But hopefully, we come to the point that the competition and the level of performance of the players is that high that we are able to do that very efficiently to win more football matches. That's the objective.
And with Kai and Gabby out, kind of Victor's on his own up there, are you going to have a chance to be able to rest him at all and bring other players into that role? Or do you think he's going to have to leave the line now for a while without a real rest?
Well, let's see it against the Forest at the end. Mikel played as a 9. We have Leo can play there. We have other options or formations that we can adjust to that. At the moment, Victor is doing really well, so really happy with that.
Isan, Daily Mail.
Hi, Mikel. Do you have any updates on Bukayo Saka, where he is with his injury?
No, I think it's still quite a lot of things to go through. Very early to understand which week he's going to be available, but he will certainly be pushing to be available as quick as possible.
Your team, of course, reached the semi-finals last season in this competition. This time round, with the squad that you've got now, you haven't spent £250 million and the reinforcements you've got in all positions. Do you now see this as a moment where you can go one step further and possibly get to the final, win the competition maybe? Yeah,
like the rest of the teams that they have done the same and they continue to do that and they've won it in many occasions. That's the aim in the beginning, but we all know that it's going to be a really long journey. The margins in this competition are super small and you have to be at your very best from day one to give yourself the best possible chance.
And what in particular did you learn from the competition last season which you're going to take into the competition this time around?
That we are good enough, that we can compete against any opposition on the day. And on top of that, two things have to go your way. You need to have a full squad available when it comes to the most critical moments in the season. And then as well, when the ball has to go in the right moment or with the right decision, it has to be as well because the margins are so small.
Amy, Athletic.
Hi, Mikel. Was part of the strengthening in a lot of numbers this summer down to that feeling when you're in the semi-final and your numbers are short and you think, I don't want to be here next year, where you're struggling to put out your best team when it counts?
Well, when we were training, we had 8 or 9 fit players and we're going to games with 13 players. And at that level, it's extremely difficult. But I think even with that condition, we did really, really well. We gave ourselves an unbelievable chance and we were very unlucky in the semi-final not to get through.
David Raya was just here and he was talking about how much it almost seemed to still hurt when he thinks about the semi-final and being in that position. I hate to take you back to that moment, but how much does it drive you to have that experience as a young manager where you get so close to the top of the mountain?
Well, it is that, and that moment you get deflated and you have to understand what you need to do to put yourself back in the same position and start actions actually that matter to give yourself the chance to achieve that. And that's it. You take a lot of learnings from it. It's painful because it's not only what we feel, it's about the expectation that we created and the real conviction that we had within the club, the team, that we could go all the way because we showed a very high level of consistency and quality throughout the competition and learn from it and try to be better.
Okay, a couple more in English and we'll go to... Happy birthday.
Thank you. 42 clean sheets in 100 appearances. It's been a great couple of seasons for you at the club, hasn't it? Yeah, of course. I think it was just on maybe 2 years ago that I made my debut against Everton, and from there it's just been incredible, you know, being part of this football club and having that record as well on 100 games with 42 clean sheets is incredible. But that just goes to the credit to the team, to the staff, that how hard we work to try and defend us the much better as possible to try and win games.
Reached the semi-finals of the competition last year. What's the feeling like coming into a new campaign in the Champions League?
Yeah, we did an incredible campaign last year. We were short. We lost against PSG, the current holders of the Champions League. So we want to aim higher this season, and that's what we want to do.
A lot's been made of Arsenal's squad depth. A lot of signings in the summer, and there's also been a signing in your position as well with Kepa. I was just wondering what that has been like with so much quality coming into the squad.
Well, the new signings, they have a key role just to improve the squad, to improve the depth, especially what happened last season with the injuries that we had and the depth. It was a little bit short, and then the club did a magnificent job to recruit a lot of players, really good players, and they're going to be a key part of the success of this club.
Well, David, happy birthday.
Thank you.
We mentioned there Kepa coming in. He's the first goalkeeper that's been signed permanently since you were signed. So it's in some ways perhaps more pressure in that position. Do you kind of relish that competition when you've got someone on a similar level or pushing you for that role?
Well, we know we are Arsenal, and competition is all over the place. You always have, and you need competition to take out everything good in each player. And that competition is very, very, very healthy. You know, Kepa and me, we have a really good relationship. We know each other from the national team, and it's a pleasure to share the dressing room with him.
Before the Forest game, we heard from Mikel, and he said that he was hammered when he brought you in the sense he was scrutinised, criticised for bringing you in. Do you feel like you vindicated his decision to sign you?
Well, I came here to do a step further on my career, and I think it was the right decision. We know that when I came here, obviously, Aaron was the goalie, and he was playing, and then similar situation with other keepers that had come to a club to push the other goalie or the other players, and I just tried to do my best on the pitch, off the pitch, and just give the reason to the boss to pick me to play games. So that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, and you watched all of that game.
I had a blitz of football yesterday. It was Arsenal, Salford, Tottenham, West Ham, and then Chelsea, Brentford. And starting with Arsenal, Madueke, Eze. When you think about Martinelli and Saka, you thought they would dominate the left and right wing of Arsenal for the next 5-10 years. And yet you're watching two players yesterday, and obviously Saka will come back in, and so will Martinelli play games as well. But Madueke's a lot better than I imagined and thought he would be, and certainly a lot better than Arsenal fans thought he would be. A couple of runs that he made for England on Wednesday night were Tuesday night, were a different level. Their runs, I thought, ooh, them runs. You know, Iron Robin used to make those runs against me. I'm giving you players of a sort of like a level where you think, oh, I'm up against it. This is a different type of player. Sometimes you play against wingers who are dribbling at you, and you know they've got a trick, and you know that you're going to be in for a difficult day. And then you've got players who are like a step above, a level above. Now, I'm not saying Madueke's there yet, but he's not. But his movements and the things that he's doing are very, very good. And I'm talking it from a fullback's perspective, playing against it. And Eze looks like he's got that little bit of something. Well, he has got that something. So you look at those two now. Gyökeres, a good day for him. You know, the problem is with Arsenal, they've got so many silky players and football players in Zubimendi and Ødegaard and Madueke, Eze, Declan Rice. And then you look at sort of Gyökeres, and he's a misfit. He's a misfit for that group of players in the sense of he's not, you know, sort of like technically amazing. But I actually like that sort of contrast, that idea of having this battering ram who's a little bit sort of ungainly, and I think he'll beat up small teams. Whether he'll do it in the big games and score in the big games, not as sure. I think that the best defenders might handle him, and we'll see. But I think he'll beat up smaller teams for Arsenal, which that's not a bad thing. Scoring loads of goals and getting 20 goals this season, which he could do, it doesn't necessarily all have to be against the big teams. Now he'll want the odd one or two against them, but just early on, seeing him be a real threat, a real handful. And I think Arsenal need a bit of imperfection in their attack. Maybe someone that they can get it into the box a little bit quicker. Well, it was a good day for Arsenal. Forest, Angie's first game, not quite at it.
No. I was just going to mention, because you did briefly, Zubimendi, who actually, he's not a big fella, is he?
No.
And yet he looks like he carries real authority in that midfield.
I actually thought he was as important to sign as Gyökeres, because I think that when I saw Arsenal last season, I actually thought there were moments where Jorginho played, where he just pops those balls through lines. And I'm not sure Declan Rice and Partey. It's interesting how Declan Rice is now being used by Mikel Arteta, but also by Thomas Tuchel, and in that advanced role, and Anderson. Elliot Anderson played deeper for England, obviously, in the midweek. I actually think that's where Declan Rice should be, up in top of the game, up the pitch, not receiving it off his back foot. That's not to say he can't do it in certain matches. But Zubimendi, I thought they really needed that type of player, Arsenal, to receive the ball in there and then pop it through into Ødegaard quicker, get it forward quicker, break the lines. So not quite sort of, I wasn't expecting him to sign for volleys from outside the box or headers at the back post, which is what we got yesterday. But that's the quality of him. He's got great technical ability. He showed us something, I think, that I was watching it on obviously the television, and they said that it maybe was only third headed goal in his career or something like that. But for me, Zubimendi, if he can start to just, it's not been an explosive start from him, but if he can start to grow and get better and build that sort of relationship in midfield with Rice and Ødegaard, who obviously went off yesterday, and then you can start to get Saka back and a couple of the others, and before you know it, obviously Saliba's out currently. But Mosquera's done well since he's come in. So Arsenal have got real depth. I think Martinelli and Trossard came on sort of like really late on, and that's like almost like 5th and 6th wingers now. It's amazing where Arsenal are at with the wide players and their creative ability. So, yeah, they just need to be a little bit more, just take a bit more risk, I think, Arsenal. Even yesterday, just a bit more risk. Just lift it by 5% in terms of your expression and your risk, because you've got the players to do it.
Well, that's what you said at Anfield the other week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just lift it. I mean, win games, keep clean sheets, be pragmatic, be great at set pieces, but just have that little bit more freedom, that little bit more something that might just be the spark and that edge that gets you over the line.
So we'll finish on Chelsea in just a second, because you saw them yesterday as well. But since you're on Arsenal, and based on what you've seen here and what you saw yesterday, just preview in that context Arsenal-Man City next week.
If I'm looking at that from an Arsenal perspective, I'm thinking this is a game I've got to win. Yeah, I think it's a game I've got to win. I think Arsenal are a better team currently and a more all-round team than this Manchester City team. But they're going to have problems in the game. There's no doubt that Manchester City are going to cause them problems because they've got too many good players. They've got to handle Haaland. You've got to handle Foden and Bernardo Silva and Doku, who have got real individual ability to be able to create moments. So there's, Arsenal are going to have to play really well in this game next week. But balancing that defensive sort of pragmatic solidity that they have, and we know they can deploy in big matches, and then having that ability to think we've got to win this match, and that mentality of winning the match. And that starts from the manager with his team selection. It starts then with the players when they get on the pitch with that sort of element of just going for it in moments where they can and not holding back, and having that real expression and that sort of, that's something different that they need to win big matches. And they've been good in big matches, this Arsenal team. So, I think it's a game that Arsenal have to win. I think if Pep go out, it's a tougher game for City than it is for Arsenal. But for City, if you really want to let people know that you're back in the title race and you really want to shake it up, then go and win. Go and win at the Emirates next Sunday, because that will sort of shake things up and rock things a little bit.
Welcome back to Generation XG, where it's time for us to talk Arsenal. I think they've had an impressive summer. I think that, when you're going into the transfer window, you're always hoping that you make the right acquisitions. You hope then that they hit the ground running. I think when we look at these players that they've signed over the summer, I think they have. I think they'll be really pleased with their business.
Yeah, I think so. I think in terms of the way transfer windows go, I'd be extremely happy with that. Being an Arsenal fan, looking at the names that have come in and the players they've come in is pretty special.
Who's been the most... It's hard to say the most impressive signing, because there's a difference between who's the most exciting signing and who's settled in the best. You got an answer for either of them?
Absolutely. I think it's a really good question, because Noni Madueke came in under a load of pressure. Lots of Arsenal fans weren't impressed with that signing, but I think he's dealt with that pressure. He's been brilliant for England. He's also been fantastic for Arsenal. I think, obviously, Gyökeres comes in because he's a striker. And, first couple of games he wasn't fit. He obviously wasn't fit, but he's starting to look sharp and fit. But Eze, I think, was the standout signing. Especially, not because they took away from Tottenham, but you just think it was something that was missing.
I think that helped, though.
Yeah, it certainly did. It did certainly help. But that kind of, that special player that Arsenal haven't had for a little while. But do you know what? The guy that I was impressed with this weekend was the guy they spent £13 million on. Because William Saliba was out of the side. And when he was out of the side, maybe in previous seasons, you think, oh, God, who's going to come and who's going to go and do the job? Yep. But this lad, Mosquera, only £13 million from Valencia. And I think Norgard, in time as well, will be a really clever signing as well. Experienced Premier League player who can step straight in.
For me, they've shown intent of, right, what can get us a title? And they've gone, do you know what, we'll back ourselves to go and get these players to take Arsenal to the next level. They're already competing, but what is going to give them their edge? A little bit more depth, a little bit more, creativity.
How difficult is it for someone like Mosquera, what Leroy was just like your Virgil van Dijks, your Mo Salahs, they've been at the club for a really long time. Arsenal have had an incredible amount of turnover without you really realising it, I don't think.
No, they look like they settled in very quickly. And when Arsenal fans see a team sheet without Declan Rice on it and Bukayo Saka, they used to panic. They were panicking. Oh, what we going to do? That performance against Nottingham Forest, I think, said to a lot of the Arsenal fans, you know what, we can certainly cope. Actually, not only cope, we can just continue in a certain vein of form.
Absolutely, and it's taken Arsenal away from being a one or two man team to being, with strength and depth within the squad to come in with Eze coming in, Madueke coming in, and the other players that are going to come in and make an impact. It puts them in a fantastic place to start to go and challenge.
Well, those players are helping them cope with no Saka in the team, certainly. But the most impressive player at the weekend was a player that came in central midfield, wasn't it? Zubimendi, a man that came into what has been a competitive position for Arsenal. He's not the biggest of stature, and yet he's been so imposing in his first few games.
Look, everybody's like Zubimendi. He's been linked with Man City because of the Rodri situation for so long. Obviously, because he's Spanish as well. They thought he'd be a natural replacement to go into Man City, but Arsenal went and took him. And what he did at the weekend was something that I don't think we really expected, Leon. Always.
Definitely. He's been brought in to start play, to break up attacks and get round. I'm not sure he's been brought in for this. I just want to stop it there. Look at that technique. Look at the way that comes down to you. Now let's watch it in real time. It's past the goalkeeper himself before he's even knows. I mean, what a wonderful hit. We get to see it from behind here.
Could you slow it down from this angle, Leon? Because it's his technique which is absolutely perfect, isn't it, Joel?
It's beautiful, isn't it? And that's the hardest thing there, to make a good contact with the ball and obviously, to hit the target as well.
Yeah, it's the balance, and he does it with so much balance. And, he's still stood on... When he hits it, he's not falling over. It's absolutely perfect. You see some players falling over when they hit it. It's just absolute perfection. Absolute great
dreams are made of.
Takes a big deflection. On goal. We were giving own goals, weren't we? No, but he certainly wasn't brought in for his goal scoring prowess with his feet. He definitely wasn't brought in for his goal scoring prowess in the air. What about that?
No, terrific header, isn't it?
Fantastic, and do you know what I like about this? It's the willingness to go and head the ball. To go and compete with the defender, with the centre-half, and kind of knock him over as well, and make sure that you get a good contact on it.
It really does bode well for Arsenal going forward. When all of a sudden you're holding midfield players coming out with a couple of goals like that, because as the season goes on and we're in tight games, had a tight game against Liverpool, they couldn't find a goal. And you think there's people like him with that sort of finishing ability can step up and score really important goals throughout the season. Yeah,
I'm looking at the squad and I'm thinking that they look even more competitive, and I'm talking as a squad. I didn't sit there at the end of last season thinking they're going to have to replace Martinelli. They're going to need some backup for Eze, but as well as the rest of the team, they've got backup in some top positions. But those are the two I want to talk about: Madueke and Eze. We'll start with Madueke. There was talk, there was a petition. I think it's very well known that there was a petition to, maybe stop that transfer going through from a couple of Arsenal fans. Let's not pretend it was the majority of Arsenal fans, but even they will now be thinking, thank goodness we didn't stop that, because what an introduction he's had.
Absolutely. And speaking to Joel about him, you've played against Noni, haven't you? And what's the difference when you played against him in an Arsenal shirt now?
For right now, I feel like he's enjoying his football. The way in which he's come into Arsenal, the way in which he's set the marker out, he's been direct, he's energetic, he's taking those 1v1s and not turning back out and playing. I think there was a period at Chelsea where he just seemed a little bit unsettled and he would turn out and pass back, whereas here he's given the licence to go and be that difference, and he's enjoying it.
What I liked about him, Leon, was that he had an interview with him. They said, what happens when Bukayo Saka comes back? And he says, well, I can play on the left as well. So he expects to play, he expects to start, and he's only 23 years old. And I think you're absolutely right. All of a sudden, in a very short space of time, Mikel Arteta's got him just fully confident, and it's difficult to stop.
Well, I think that there's been an awful lot asked of Saka over the last couple of seasons, the demands on him. That it was inevitable at some point he may break down and have an injury. And you have to prepare for that. You have to have players that, if he was out for a full season, that can come in and not only sort of be a backup for him, but replace him, be just as good as him. And I mean, that's been a terrific introduction by Madueke. However, he wasn't the marquee signing of the summer. We touched on it. Eberechi Eze, who is definitely a player that you've played alongside.
Absolutely, and it takes some change calling him Eze other than Ebbs. That's what I'm kind of used to. But listen, Ebbs is something special. He's got that X factor, the way in which he uses his body, the way in which he recognises space and how to exploit it, and the way in which he goes past people. He just glides, and it's a beautiful thing to see. It's never nice to come up against him. I've done that my fair share in training, and he certainly sat me down a few times. Only a couple, maybe. but no, listen, the way he picks up positions, the way he can manipulate the ball is a special, and he's a special talent.
I'd be happy just to be sat down. I think he'd injure me. I think if I was trying to compete, I mean, that's Van der Ven, one of the quickest.
Absolutely, but
what
he's done for Arsenal, they're a little bit under with Martinelli. All the pace he had, they're a little bit one-dimensional. But look, he can run in behind as well. He can get it to feet. He's just given them so many weapons down this left-hand side, and he assists and he scores goals.
Absolutely. It's going to be a really exciting time for him at Arsenal.
What's his best position?
That right there, I think, coming in off the left-hand side, for me personally, seeing him pick up the ball and start to drive with it and attack that space is where he's really going to cause some damage.
We just talked about Madueke being able to play on both sides. Can he play on both sides of the pitch, though? Can he be adaptable? Can he play central for them if they need him to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could play all the way across that front line. He's got the ability to do so. Obviously, I think naturally, being on the left-hand side suits Ebbs really, really well. You've seen from there, and on those clips, how he uses the ball, how he can take up space, how he can run in behind. And he's also not afraid to do the dirty side of the game as well when he needs to.
Which I think is a big part of all the top players' games. Well, this is Premier League record, season by season, since 2020. Goals compared to assists, obviously, seemingly impressive numbers. You've been quite pleased with that.
I've been really pleased with that, and I expect him to do better at Arsenal. And that's no disrespect to Crystal Palace. It's just because Arsenal side going to get him more of the ball in the areas that he wants. They're going to dominate possession more. So although his stats have been impressive, in the last 5 seasons, I think he'll embrace going to Arsenal because he's got that sort of character. Nothing phases him, and he'll see it as another stage for him to show what he's all about, John.
Absolutely. He'll see this as an opportunity to go on and kick on and achieve what he wants to go and achieve. And he wants to take this team to the next level. Combined with the other lads around him, I really do feel that they've got what it takes now to kind of overtake the Liverpools and the Cities. And I think it's going to be a really exciting time. But I'm obviously probably a little bit biased. I love Ebbs. Played with him, and he's been an amazing guy, an amazing player.
Do you think he can be the difference for Arsenal take Liverpool on?
I do. I do, definitely. The way in which I've seen him over the last few years start to really step into that, leadership role as well, and to take a team forward. He bared a lot of the burden at Palace, and he executed, what is a great, goal to assist ratio.
Do you think he can beat those numbers? Goals, assists?
I really do. I think at Arsenal, I just think he just looks really comfortable in that Arsenal shirt. He looks like he's going to love it. It's a club that he loves, that he was at for a very young man, and he's got something to prove as well. And I think he will prove that.
Well,